Hi guys, thank you so much for joining our webinar, which we are taking today with one of our BI experts. And just to go into the webinar, just before going into the webinar, I just want to, just give you a brief background of Bizacuity. We are a data analytics and BI company which make reliable, scalable, and cost-effective solutions for our clients. And we do have service-based services as well, and we do provide SaaS-based solution on the BI and analytics front as well. Some of the services which we offer is into management consulting, digital analytics, ML and deep learning, data management, and big data services. Let me quickly give an intro for our management team and our host for today, Rachna Pandey. Our management team, as I was talking to you about Bizacuity, so Bizacuity we started business back in 2011. And before starting this Bizacuity, our all three co-founders have been working in gaming industry from past 15 to 20 years before this, and in total they bring together 40 plus years of experience before starting this activity. So currently they have an experience of overwhelming 60 to 70 years now in this particular field. And this is what actually differentiate us from any other companies as well, that we do understand the nitty-gritties of the gaming industry from the perspective of BI and analytics. And that's one of the major reasons why our clients such as GVC, Mohegan Sun, Vegas Casino and Resorts to depend on us to give them the better service and provide them better solutions so that they can take care of their customers. So to give you a brief background of our today's host, Rachna Pandey, is she started at Bizacuity a couple of years ago as a senior business analyst. However, this is not her first experience. She has been working in this industry, specifically gaming industry, from the past 10 years and 10 years and above. And before joining Bizacuity, she was part of Party Gaming PLC and Deloitte, where she was taking care of as an analyst to develop vibrant dashboards which can help out operations as well as C-level individuals in their day-to-day activities. She has an MBA and IT and finance from university, one of the top universities in India. So Rachna, it's over to you.
Thank you, Sumit. Hi, my name is Rachna Pandey, and in the next 45 to 50 minutes, I will take you through how we can extract trends and insights using dashboards for the land-based gaming industry. These dashboards have been built on the Bizacuity Gaming Accelerator. Now, just to set some context, we have some figures here from Gartner, which pegged the BI adoption rate at 35% in 2019. Now, this rate was estimated to be around 24% in 2009. So what exactly happened in these last 10 years? In the last 10 years, the organizations, they have been on a data collection spree, and they have invested heavily in the creation of this data, in the storage of this data, and in the collection, in their collection of the data. However, the BI adoption in the last 10 years has only increased by 11%. So while there is a lot of talk around data-driven decision making, organizations are still struggling with how to use this data. Now, the challenge has primarily been in generating insights which are relevant, accurate, and timely. So, and also because these insights have to be very domain specific for them to really be useful. So, we don't really have a one-fit-all solution to the adoption slowdown problem here. However, in the last so many years, a lot of companies have established their niche in various domains where they understand the pertinent issues of the industry, and then they try to customize their solutions to offer relevant analytics for the business. Now, this chart here again, which we have also sourced from Gartner, it shows the hype cycle for BI and analytics, where we see that emergence of technologies like continuous intelligence, graph analytics, NLP, etc. They pushed the expectation very high. So, and even though these technologies, they still hold a lot of promise, but converting them into concrete results has not been very straightforward. One, because these technologies in themselves, they are very complicated, and two, sometimes they are not very viable or fall in the affordability range of the customers. So, so what happened then was that the talk around these technologies died when it started mellowing down. Suddenly, people felt very disillusioned as far as data and analytics and data-driven decision making was concerned, and they went back again to their gut and instinct for decision making. However, the field of analytics has progressed, and there has been number one advancement in these technologies, as well as there has been some advancement on the hardware side, because of which now we see a slower but a more sustained growth. So technologies like visual data discovery and predictive analytics, text analytics, all these, after crossing the disillusionment phase, we are seeing a good amount of adoption and traction in these technologies. And what Gartner explained using so much data and stats, Dilbert has managed to do in this comic strip. So I'll just leave you for 10 seconds to go through this. But what it highlights really well is the level of skepticism around timely availability, accuracy, and reliability of data in organizations. And of course, it being Dilbert, he takes it to another level of philosophy. However, exactly this is the skepticism which needs to be addressed if we want our organizations to get to the level of data driven decision making. And that is exactly what brings me to my next slide, where I will take a couple of minutes to introduce you to our Gaming Analytics Accelerator, which is a SaaS based platform for gaming analytics where customers put in the transaction level data and get player level predictions as well as complex and interactive reports and dashboards. Now, the first question that needs to be answered actually is why the accelerator? What does it do for the customers? So, typically, in any company, taking up BI initiatives requires first setting up a BI platform, which takes anywhere between 6 to 12 months, depending upon the size and scale of operations. Now, with BizAcuity's Gaming Analytics Accelerator, this whole time gets reduced by around 70%. So there is a very rapid and cost-effective onboarding, since all the bootstrapping related costs are actually taken care of. Also, since the entire process eliminates manual handling of data, and also because so many reconciliations and checks and balances, they are already put in place within this framework, the level of accuracy in the data increases significantly. So, which in turn improves the reliability of the data, and that alone, single-handedly, is a very high contributor for any BI adoption in any company. And finally, the fact that our founders have been very closely associated with the gaming industry, there's a lot of domain level intelligence that is built into these dashboards and reports. And the predictive models that are generated from this accelerator, they also address some of the most pertinent issues of the gaming industry. So it's very relevant as far as the land-based gaming industry is concerned. So this is what the accelerator looks like, and it has four major components: the data ingestion component, the data which is responsible for reading, excuse me, raw data, Then the data enrichment component, which has a proprietary data model built into it, and it transforms this raw data into meaningful data and KPIs, and does a lot of feature engineering on the raw data basically to be consumed by the dashboard and reporting engine as well as the AI and ML engine. And while it is capable of reading data from these individual data sources directly, uh, in organizations where there is a data warehouse already in place, data can also be read and fed back into the data warehouse. So it basically augments all the the BI efforts in the organizations where a warehouse already exists. And as an output, the accelerator produces complex and interactive dashboards, and it also produces predictive analytics. It can also feed in this information directly into the campaign management systems, and it also serves as an input for the self-service BI. In terms of the tech stack, the data ingestion component is built using Apache NiFi and Python. The data enrichment component has been coded using SQL and Python again. There is a persistent storage that is built into the accelerator, and then the AI and ML engine runs on R and Python, and the dashboarding and reporting component currently supports Tableau and Power BI. Now, before I take you through a few dashboards where you can actually get a feel of what these have to offer, I want to spend 2 minutes on our approach to dashboard development. So we have dashboards at all levels, suited for all levels in the organization. So we have strategic dashboards, tactical dashboards, as well as operational dashboards. The strategic dashboards are give a very high level view of the business. So they track some of the high level KPIs and as well as key drivers of the business, and also give an insight on whether the strategic initiatives are yielding result or not. Then the tactical dashboards are typically used by the department heads like the product head or let's say the VIP head, and look at whether the tactical areas are how they are performing, the different drivers of the business, how they are performing, and whether and any alerts relating to those. And finally, there are the operational dashboards, which are for usage by the floor managers. These are more day to day in nature, and they track whether operational how operations on the floor are performing. So now I will, without wasting more time on anything else, I will move to the dashboard, and I would like to give you a demo of these dashboards because that's where you will be able to look at the how interactive these dashboards are. And so I'm just going to take a minute and change the mode to the demo. So this is the monthly executive dashboard, and it gives, like I said, it gives an overview of the whole business, and how on the top ribbon we track all the important KPIs. So we have the wager amount, win amount, hold percentage, gaming expenses, non-gaming expenses, net gaming revenue, which is arrived at by deducting the gaming expenses from win amount, net revenue, and net margins. Um, then these, because this is a monthly dashboard, these are the monthly numbers which are displayed here. And then the monthly numbers are compared against the monthly targets. So green indicates a performance better than target, and a red value indicates a performance slightly below target, below expectation. Then for these KPIs, we track the 12-month trend, and the trend is compared against the seasonality, because seasonal trend, because the business is very seasonal in nature. So we need to know whether a drop or an unexpected increase in any KPI is whether it's of because of seasonality factors, or is it due to something else. On now the dashboard can be view now some one of our clients also had multiple properties, and so you can look at the overall dashboard, but you can also filter it by a particular property here, and all the KPIs will get updated accordingly. Similarly, then we have measure, and then we look at the two important drivers of the business: product and customer. So this gives a 12 product distribution uh, by player count by product. So we can see here that 68% players are playing on slots, and 9.5% players play bingo. And we look at this distribution trend over time. Similarly, for customers, it's important to know whether what is the mix of new visitors versus repeat visitors, because new visitors give an insight into how our branding and acquisition efforts are panning out, whereas repeat visitors give an insight into what their customer experience has been like, and whether they feel compelled to come back to the property or not. And this distribution is equally important to track. And so here we again look at the last 12-month distribution. Then here we look at where these players are coming from, which cities, and then we look at the quality of our player base. Where, like in any other business, even in the gaming industry, the top 20% players contribute to almost 80% of the revenues. And so we need to see, so we get to see, for instance, that top 25% players here are contributing 70% of the revenue approximately. Now, here as we can see, all the graphs are showing player count, but here I can change it to wager amount, and everything gets updated for wager amount. Similarly, I can select a particular city, and all my KPIs get updated for this particular city. So I selected New York, and my trends, my KPIs get my product distribution, my distribution of new versus repeat visitor, as well as my quality of my player base. Everything gets updated for customers in New York. Similarly, I can select a particular loyalty category, and everything gets updated for that loyalty category. So we can actually, so the point I'm trying to make here is that we have the capability to look at an overall picture, but at the same time, there is the capability to slice and dice and look at your data from different angles. Another thing that we have built into this dashboard is because we also know that the business is very seasonal in terms of the day of the week, and so we also have a weekday picture here, so which shows how much wagering we are getting on weekends compared to weekdays, for instance. That can be seen. So moving on to the second dashboard. So this was the executive view. Now I would like to take you through the monthly product dashboard. Here we look at all the products in the business. So we have a single view of all the products that are of the product portfolio of the business, and we look at the important KPIs relating to the to these products. So we have active players, wager amount, gross gaming revenue, and gross margin. We have the monthly value as well as the last 12-month trend. and the deviation compared to the previous month for each of these values. We also have the product distribution based on wager amount. So, like we can see that 45% of revenue is coming from bingo. And we also see that the cross sell percentage. So, for instance, here we can see that 40% players are playing only single games, and 60% players are playing more than one game. Now, this is an overall product dashboard, but for each of these products, we also have a detailed product dashboard. And one example is a slot dashboard. Yeah. So in the slot dashboard, again, we have four categorizations, let's if we can call them that. So there are multiple game types in slots. Then there are the slot machines which are either owned, leased, or on a revenue share basis. Then they are distributed in different zones. And then there is a main section and a high limit section. Now, so this shows the distribution of the coin-in percentage or the wagering percentage on slots for different game types. So let's say, so this, for instance, says that 42% of coin-in comes on video. We could also look at the floor percentage for the same thing. So we could say that most of my machines, actually video is occupying 79% of the floor and contributing 30%, 31% in terms of the win amount. Now, here I would like to put a disclaimer, which actually I should have put earlier, that this data may not really be very indicative of real life data. So, because we have made sure that we randomize the data so that we don't land up sharing any of our customers' insights with anybody. But what I'm trying to highlight is the uh, interactive capability of these dashboards and the kind of information that they can generate. Similar. Now, here is the some important KPIs like coin in, meter win, expenses broken down by free play and other expenses. Then the net win, coin in per day, net win per unit, and the whole percentage. So this is the trend of these KPIs over the last 12 months. And what we can also do is we can click on a particular game type, and this trend gets updated for this particular game type. Similarly, we could click on, let's say, the leased machines, and we know that what is the trend of these KPIs for the leased machines. So also going to the weekday view, here again, because the business is generates different amount of wagering on different days of the week, so we also have a weekday view where we look at the coin in, net win amount, and net hold percentage on different days, and this again can be filtered by these so here these four categorizations also act as filters. Now, we have similar dashboards for different products, like I mentioned earlier. Now, having covered product, the next dashboard that I would like to move to is the monthly customer KPI dashboard, where we try and look at the customer from all angles. So, first we look at the player demographic details, then we look at how the player is engaging with the business, and then how is the player engaging with the different offerings of the business. So in terms of player demographics, again, the top ribbon here is looking at all these important KPIs for the business, but at a per player level. So, which kind of gives an insight into how much an average player generates for the business. And this is again a monthly dashboard. So, here we have a player count. So, these are the active players in June, and this is the last 12-month trend. This is the wager amount per player, actual win per player, uh, bonus cost or comps per player, visit per player, number of days on an average per visit, and the wager amount per visit. And here we look at the how these players are distributed by their age group. So we can say that almost 82% of our player base is between 21 to 40 years of age, and 53% of the players come from San Jose. And this is the list of the top 10 players by wager amount, because it's always good to know who your most profitable customers are, because you never want to lose track of them. And then this is the trend of residential versus non-residential players, the wager amount by distance and wager amount by gender. And here once again we can use these as filters, and so you can see how does my player from San Jose compare with my player from LA. So clearly the player from San Jose is more profitable. Moving to the player engagement tab. So this is looking at how aspects like system age of players, how players are distributed by their age in the system, what is the player base in terms of in any given month, what is the percentage of my retained players vis-a-vis the reactivated players vis-a-vis the new player base, and how many are have been inactive and how many are have been churned. So inactive, the definition of inactive, so inactive basically signifies players who are at a risk of churn. And if you know that your inactive player base is going up, you probably would want to ramp up your reactivation efforts to bring them back and make sure they don't, you don't lose them out to anything. Then here is the recency profile of players. This is the frequency profile, how frequently they visit. Uh, I mean, how many players visit daily? How many players visit only once a month, and how many players visit 19 times in a month, and so on. And then this is again they're profiling by loyalty buckets and the player retention curve. And for player product, we look at how many player count by product and the last 12-month trend. And then we also look at the trend for single versus multi-product distribution. And this is very interesting because it has been observed that players who play on multiple products have a much higher engagement level than players who play only on single products. And then there is the market basket analysis, which gives an insight into which games typically go together. So something like 98K players who play table games also play bingo. So we have covered product and we have covered customer. Now, to come to an example of an operational dashboard. So I would like to cover the campaign performance dashboard here, because campaigns and bonusing basically is a very important customer retention tool which is used in the gaming industry. Uh, and at the same time, the player retention cost is one of the is and rather player retention effort optimization is one of the persistent problems of this industry. So here again, we look at all the campaigns which had been running year to date. And and we look at their I mean, so it's something like the promo packet is a campaign which has taken 30% of the overall spend so far year to date. Here again, we look at the top 10 ongoing campaigns. So, and we look at the number of players targeted, total amount of bonus which was issued, bonus claimed, and bonus expired for each of these top 10 ongoing campaigns. Then, first, let's talk about campaign reach. So, there are multiple channels through which we try and reach our customers, and so this gives us that, for example, for this particular campaign, players were contacted through email, SMS, and social media, and maximum number of players were contacted on email, then on SMS, and then on social media. And uh, and then if we look at the reach, out of the total players contacted, 60% players were actually active, and out of the total players contacted on SMS, 40% were actually active. So even though maximum number of players were contacted on email, the uh, the reach for the SMS channel was the most. Coming back to campaign performance, here we have uh, certain details around the campaign. So, what was the start date? What was the end date? What was the number of players who were awarded a bonus and non-awarded players? So, typically, we try to benchmark the performance of any campaign against a control group. But in cases where we don't have a control group, we try and look at a similar set of players. And then this is the total campaign expense. And then what we do is we try and look at the KPIs on a per player basis for and try and compare them against the non-awarded players. So if we look at wager amount per player, this we can see that throughout the campaign period, the trend of wager amount per player has been much higher for those who were awarded with the bonus compared to those who were not awarded with the bonus. Similarly, uh, because of the higher wager amount, the actual win is also much higher, and so is the Theo win per player. However, because of the awarded bonus, the expense per player for the awarded players is much higher. However, the amount of wagering that the campaign has generated is much higher in proportion to the expense, because of which the net win per player is also high, which goes on to show that the campaign has been effective. Now, a campaign may be effective uh, or not very effective at an overall level, but sometimes for a particular segment, it may or may not prove effective. So we look at a campaign at an overall level, but we also try and look at different subsegments to make sure that it's not, failing very badly for a particular subsegment. And here, one of the segmentation criteria that has been used is loyalty buckets. However, uh, if there are more segmentation criteria, we also explore those. So here we look at the performance. We compare the performance of players who were awarded the bonus versus those who were not awarded for different loyalty categories. Now, this is the campaign dashboard. Coming to another example of an operational dashboard, we have the host management dashboard. And as part of the host management dashboard, we try and look at four aspects. So, first, we look at the host management program in totality, how the program is performing. Then we look at hosted versus non hosted opportunities. Then we look at the overall host summary. And finally, we look at individual hosts summary. So, looking at the host management program, on any given day. So this is a daily dashboard because it's an operational dashboard. We look at number of hosts occupied, hosts available, what is the reinvestment rate, and the customer satisfaction score, which is a month to date metric. Then average players who were per host gives an insight into the engagement and the occupancy of a host and the trend over the last 30 days. Then hosted players as a percentage of overall players gives an insight into the coverage. So for approximately 40% of all players walking into the property have been hosted. Manual comps per host, we definitely want to make sure that this metric doesn't peak off at any point. And finally, the reinvestment rate, which again needs to be. So for a good host management program, the reinvestment rate has to gradually either be stable or it has to gradually go down. Now, then we also look at the top 10 hosts by comps to make sure that hosts who are spending more, who are giving out comps, are also, justifying it through the reinvestment rate and the wagering that is being generated, and the top 10 hosts by wager amount. Uh, And we look at the hosted versus non-hosted opportunity because there is always the case that some high value players may be unhosted. So it's always important to keep track of how much, if any, loss has been generated because of that. Then this is the overall host summary where we look at all the important KPIs for all the hosts who are there in the property. So we have the number of players handled, wager amount generated, actual win, free play cash, promo chips, comps, uh, and per player wagering generated, and so on, and theory investment rate and actual reinvestment rate. And finally, coming to the individual host summary. So we could, so for a manager who wants to look at the performance of any individual host, he can actually select the host, and we have all, starting from all the bio information relating to the host, how much time he has spent with the business, a week to date rank, his performance, his customer satisfaction score, and on the previous day, how much wager amount he generated, when number of players handled, manual comps given out, and the reinvestment rate, and comparison with the daily average, month to date rate, and lifetime daily average for this. And these are the list of current players which this host handles, and the kind of players, I mean, how they fall into which, whether the host handles high value players, or what is typically the distribution of the players handled by this host. So it gives an overall picture into how the host has been performing and what kind of players he's dealing with. So this brings me to an end.
So now we will go on and take some questions from your end. And before starting the Q&A session, I just want to add few things regarding the presentation which you have seen. So all these dashboards are highly customizable. So we do understand, from our prior experience that different properties or different customers, they want actually, to utilize different kind of, they want to highlight different KPIs in their particular environment. So as I was saying that these dashboards are highly customizable. If few customers, they want ahead and go out and deploy the same KPIs which we just have shown, it takes a lesser amount of time to deploy. However, if you want us to customize it according to your preference and your inputs, it takes a little bit more time, but we are capable to do that for you as well. So we'll wait for some questions from your end. Okay, so just a second. So we are getting one question. It is yes. So we have a question. It asks about what is the time frame to deploy these dashboards. So Rachna, can you please take this?
Sure. So, time frame to deploy these dashboards would typically depend on the readiness level at which your data is. But we have in the past deployed these dashboards in a time frame of somewhere close to 1.5 to 2 months also for some clients. So it totally depends on what level your data is and yeah, what level of customization you require. So if you're good with the insights that we already have, then it should be a fairly straightforward thing to do. However, if we are open to any level of customization and anything else that you would want us to include, and in which case the time could go up by another 20 to 30%.
Okay. The other question which I can see is what kind of data infrastructure is required at casinos in at your end to deploy these dashboards. So we do get these questions a lot. Basically, that what are the what kind of data infrastructure has to be in place. So that is a very one-to-one question which we would love to answer on a one-to-one call, because what happens in that case is we need to understand that what kind of infrastructure you have at your end, and then based on that, kind of assist you and tell you kind of an okay. Okay, great. So what happens is, like, we need to understand your infrastructure, data infrastructure first, and then we can actually kind of give you an idea that okay, do you require a, let's say for example, a data warehouse or not. So it depends on company to company how you're maintaining your data, and based on that we can actually give you that estimation that what kind of data infrastructure is required. Okay. So I'm hearing a lot of things from the guys who have attended our webinar. So thanks a lot. I'm really delightful that you guys liked our webinar, and it was helpful to you. And what we can do in future is, as that we can reach out to each other, or you can reach out to us at the email ID shown on this particular slide, and we can take it up as a one-to-one conversation. What I we will also do is we'll share this video of this particular presentation with you, so that you can share it with your internal IT or BI or analytics team, so that they can also take a look. And if you want to discuss this in further, we are always here to discuss this with you. And our North America managing partner Kapil Mehta is there in US, and he is based out of the Atlanta region, near to Atlanta region, and he will be happy to come and meet you guys, if we want to take this conversation further. So thank you so much for your time today. I think we have actually completed a little bit early, but that's fine. That gives you a little bit more time away from us. So that's great. And really, thanks a lot for you guys to show some that you came and attended our webinar. Thanks a lot for showing confidence in us. And we will again come out with another set of webinar, as Rachna was discussing today. That this is part of a webinar which we will be doing as we have developed this accelerator model. So this is the first part in the BI side which we cover, and the next webinar which we will be doing will be on the analytics side of things. That what are the analytics which is basically being covered in this in our accelerator model. So all of this model which you are able to see now has already been deployed with a couple of our customers, either in the US or in Europe, and they are really happy with it. And it's been as I explained in the starting of the webinar, this is an ongoing effort by our co-founders and our team, such as Rashna and Kapil. So thanks a lot again, and it was really great to host you in this webinar. And I hope that I see you in our next webinar as well. Thank you. Have a
Thank you
nice
so much. Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.